Well, it's getting cold, and that is turning up the heat between Andrew Cuomo and Bill de Blasio over how to deal with a homeless population in New York City. Governor just issued an executive order calling on cities, not just in the 5 boroughs, but all cities have to remove the homeless from the streets once it gets below 32 degrees. The mayor says forcibly moving people is illegal. Now, of course, it's not happening in a vacuum. Just last week, governor and mayor also squabbling about how to shelter homeless people, and more specifically, how to pay for them. And, you know, Harlan, for me, every time there's been this fight, the governor's gotten the better part of the mayor. And he's putting the mayor between a rock and a hard place. But the mayor's response, or his team's response, is he can't do this. He basically needs to enact law to order this. And by the way, we do it anyway. It seemed just as muddled as every other fight they had the previous year. They can't figure out how they want to respond. And as usual, they're on defense with the governor.
I think it's really simple. The mayor has and will continue to have a communications problem. I think that there are creative solutions that they can come to.
Do you think that problem, regardless of the subject, is because of the messenger, the mayor, the team that's not giving him the points, or the unwillingness for him, if he's going to pick a fight, to really fight, let alone even have press conferences?
I think it's all three. I think that the mayor wants to have a tough fight without getting down in the mud with the governor. So I mean, we'll see what happens. I think that it's really unfortunate because people are hurting in the meantime. Yeah.
And this is the first time in recent memory where a governor and a mayor, whether they're of the same party, different parties, can't get their act together. Now, you're on the front lines, as Dominic says, in Queens. You like what the governor had to do here, or was it easy to say you got to do it? Now you find the way to pay for it, and you find a place to put them. And oh, by the way, what if they don't want to stay when they get there? Is it a little bit more complicated than saying this is the new rule?
I lost a lot of respect for the governor and the mayor. I think they're childish. I think they're immature, and I think they're self-serving because these are just games that they're playing. And I say that based on this. I don't think anyone has ever sat next to a homeless person that is stink and smelly. A young man in my church, he stinks and he smells. He's been coming to our church. We even gave him our address. We've been able to get him some ID, some state this, some bar, et cetera, et cetera. And we feed him and everything else. I just, yesterday, Sunday, after service, took him to a Howard Johnson's. Out of my pocket, I paid $350 to put him up for 3 nights. Why? Because he's working at the church this week because we have some construction. I asked the contractor to hire him and work with him. I don't know how long that can do. What happens, hopefully they'll have a relationship and he can continue to work with them on his jobs. Now, to hear the governor and them talk this nonsense in reference that you must do this is the law.
Did he want to stay on the streets because he didn't feel safe in a shelter? He just wanted to be on the streets?
He wasn't on the streets. He humped down to the Bowery Mission and came back. He would get there late because of transportation and stuff like that, and he wouldn't be able to take a shower. I also do a lot of work with the Bowery Mission down there. I do a lot of services down there. So the concept of he wants to stay there, they want to stay there. These are people who are in their ivory towers who are not dealing hands on the grounds with this stuff, and they're not getting close to it, and they're not the ones bothered. When they go to the bank and the ATM, they don't see a homeless guy sitting there begging. You know, you go to Dunkin' Donuts, they're sitting in Dunkin' Donuts, they're trying to get a cup of coffee, and they're panhandling your way out. And it's getting worse and worse and worse, and because, you know, no one is actually, because it's become, you know, a slogan ad campaign, and they're not dealing with the real issue of what's happening here.
Does, whether this be for politics or not, does this force the issue on the table a little bit? Because now cities got to figure out what to do with them, if there's a law, or if there's a rule, I should say.
This does bring the issue to the forefront. Homeless. I don't understand the mayor. I really don't, Richard. I don't know what he's thinking. I don't know what he's doing. The governor beats you every step, every turn, and you continue to fight. So let me make sure I got this right. The problem of homelessness has exploded during your tenure, Mr. Mayor, and you, when the governor is proposing something that most New Yorkers would support, are saying, quote, it's not legal. Even if it's not legal, Richard.
We're doing it anyway.
Right, and we're doing it anyway. Yeah. Richard, as we all know, there are many ways to do something. You can say we are assessing the homeless, and you're still doing exactly the same thing by taking them to the shelter. I don't understand this, Mayor. I really don't. I don't get him.
You know what? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Once again, and the concept here, the illusion is, or the disillusion is that homeless are schizophrenic, they're drunk, they're this and that. In addition to this guy, last year, another fellow of mine, 35 years on a job, lost his job. He was in a shelter. He was a manual labor guy. Once again, out of my pocket to carry him.
On that edge, so many people live.
Yeah.
Last point.
I know we're out of time,
Yeah.
so I'll tweet my response. Everybody go to Twitter and I'll tweet it.
All right, obviously, problem not going away as the temps are dropping, but we'll continue to follow it. And one of the issues that Dominic will be talking about with the police commissioner as well this week. All right, coming up next, everybody will take a look at headlines. Guys, thank you all for joining us. Appreciate it.